Hello and welcome back to the game room. You know what I love? Video games. You know what I love? Talking about games. And it seems like a lot of people these days who cover games seem to hate them. Or at least the people who play them. Well, that's not me, and that's not the 2,697 of you beautiful people checking out this video here today. Once again, welcome to all the new subscribers. I didn't intend on being a major Xbox 360 channel, but it seems like that's what I've been doing lately, and it's been working. We've had a 500 subscriber month in May, which is insane. I don't think I didn't have that many subscribers last year over the last several years combined. So yeah, by the time we have this video come out, we might be over 2,700. So welcome everyone. Thank you all so much. Thank you all for checking in and seeing the old videos, your comments. And once again, if I don't respond to your comment, I am reading them. I've just noticed that the algorithm seems to not like it when I talk to you guys. But yeah, make sure, please like, comment, all that good stuff. Today, we of course are looking at more Xbox 360 games you should pick up. Now, originally, I wanted to just talk about games that you guys had told me to pick up. Unfortunately, as I was playing some of these last few days, one of them I enjoyed so much, I actually beat the whole damn thing, which kept me from playing anything else. So now we're kind of just doing a grab bag of some other stuff I am familiar with as well. So if that sounds interesting to you, let's check it out. There's a lot of games out there, some of which you've never even heard of. That's where I come in. My name's Luke. I've been playing games since the age of 2. And I have no life.
This is my game room.
Also, before we get started here, just to address, I had an interesting comment that I saw on Afro Samurai that said the game had tank controls. I'm thinking that what may have happened is that when you start Afro Samurai, for some reason the right stick has been inverted. So when you move it to the right, the camera moves to the left. Much like in GoldenEye, when you would aim up to, or you would move your stick up to aim down. So I'm wondering if that was the problem, because I don't remember it really having tank controls. And I know I've played a lot of games recently, but if you're watching this and you didn't see my comment, check that out. And for anyone else who tries Afro Samurai and thinks the controls are awful, I meant to say this when I covered the game. Change the damn camera for the right stick. Alright, anyways. Starting off with the first game that, unfortunately, even when I started getting into these games, this one already had kind of, not plateau, but hit a spike. I think I got this for $50, so that's one of the most expensive games I have picked up on the 360, and this is the one that I put in, and I actually enjoyed it so much that I beat the damn thing, and that game is Ashura's Wrath. Now, real quickly about this, there is DLC for this game. Now, I don't know if that DLC is going away or not. I think it's also on the PS3 as well. And for you guys out there who are World of Warcraft fans, you basically are playing as Illidan's Stormrage. So the guy who does Illidan's voice, the "You are not prepared," is also the voice for Ashura. And the whole time I was playing the game, it just was like, why do I recognize this voice? And there it is. It is over-the-top action. The thing I would compare it to is if you've played Final Fantasy 16, the big kaiju moments where you're fighting the big monsters, that's what this game feels like the entire time. Now, it's still a short game. I was able to beat it in basically a day, but it's broken up into 3 chapters. So there's chapter 1, 2, and 3. Definitely by the time you get to chapter 3, they introduce a new playable character, which is cool. But that's when I thought the game got a little too long. I started losing momentum. Basically, the way it works is it's a very cinematic game where you are constantly fighting enemies with almost, not button mashing type style, but almost a God of War style combat. But then you build up a rage meter that then you unleash, and that's essentially what progresses you into the next section of the game. So it's almost like an on-rails game in that regard, where you're not really exploring, you're not checking out anything. You have combat arena, hit the right trigger, go into a cutscene that has QuickTime events, and they are timed QuickTime events, but I've played a lot of games with annoying QuickTime events. This one is not. And one of the things it does right is that it always gives you the same button prompt. For Xbox, it's the Y button when you're going into these quick time events where you have to time the button. There'll be other things too. You have to use the analog stick. Sometimes you'll hit other buttons too. There's a projectile attack, there's a melee attack, and then a heavy attack that needs to charge. But this is kind of where when you spend too long in one of those sections, that's when the game starts fraying at the edges. That's why the beginning is so good, is you just charge full throttle into everything. And what's funny is the first chapter when I played it, so I played it technically over 2 days. It was late Friday night when I started. I did the first chapter, and I was kind of on the fence about it. Now it was late. It was very late, but starting it the next day, that's when it clicked, and there was weird storytelling. The whole story takes place, it's almost like an alternate timeline telling of Buddhist and Hindu lore. So as someone who loves a video game called Treasure of the Rudras, and you never really see this stuff represented in media, so that was cool. There was a lot of interesting iconography and visuals and everything they could play on. Story-wise, it is not that predictable, but then it's predictable. And anyways, phenomenal game. Like, this game really knocked it out of the park. Especially a few of the games we're going to talk today really had me hyped for some of these 360 games. The fact that I beat the damn thing. Like, I actively spent all Saturday just playing this and had a great time. You know, the next game we're going to talk about, I almost did the same damn thing to. And let's get to it. So this is another one, much like Azure's Wrath, that was recommended for me to pick up by you guys. This one was recommended for me to pick up as well, and that game is Remember Me. Now, I'd never heard of this, had no idea what it was about, and it's funny because it's made by the people who made Life is Strange, I believe. And it's another Capcom game, so we have back-to-back Capcom games, and the interesting hook with this game is it takes place in a world where you have memories that are attached to some device, think of like Neuralink, and then you can upload your memories to somebody else, and then they can feel how you feel about them through your memories. Well, you play as this girl, I can't remember her name, it's like Nilla or something of that nature, and she has the ability to tap into this device and then alter your memories. So if you drove and let's say you got into a car accident and everyone walked away without a scratch, well, she can jump into that memory inside your head and then alter it so that, oh no, your passenger died, or maybe you never even got into the accident, or things of that nature. So then you're almost low-key brainwashing people. Now, I didn't get so far in it, so I don't know how that really pays off, but immediately a very interesting concept. You also have a combat system in it that is akin, in my opinion, to Xenogears. So it's very much rhythm combo based, where you want to hit X, 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 and then you can get into more rhythm and more damage. There's even one where you can give yourself health back. And as you play the game, you slowly unlock more and more of this stuff. It's also highly cinematic. So much like a lot of modern games try to do, where they completely take the control out of the player and then you don't have any gameplay, this one still gives you gameplay in the midst of that. And whereas you see some huge set pieces from here and there, there's like at the beginning, you're running away from a giant robot and you do have control of it, and it's very thrilling. And then you get put into a coffin, and it's just, oh my god, I would have sat down and beaten this game. Unfortunately, I was smart enough to put it down, and then I put it into Azure's Wrath, and I'm like, no, I gotta play something. Like, these games were too good. This one is still pretty affordable, too. I want to say I found it for $20. Now, this copy is missing the manual. I have come across a few ones that are missing the manual, unfortunately. But man, these two games right here at the start, absolute bangers. If you can't tell by how much I'm enthusiastically talking about these. The games I played last week were pretty good, but these ones really knocked it out of the park. Now, one of the other ones that I just picked up because you guys mentioned it, because I had talked about the PopCap Plants vs. Zombies that had Peggle. Well, someone else mentioned something called PopCap Arcade 2 that also has Peggle, but it has Feeding Frenzy 2, which I love the original Feeding Frenzy. I only recently found out that there was a sequel. In fact, I stupidly bought it, and then only to find out it's on this physical collection. And then there's a third game called Heavy Weapon that I never had played before, but I popped all three of these games in. Now, what's funny is when I did play Peggle, I did not play it on the Xbox 360. I largely played it on my buddy's phone. So that's why I actually put it in and got an achievement, and it's a little surreal to see an achievement for 2024, and I have 3 achievements in the game, and then the other 2 were for 2011, and it's on the same system, and it's my goodness, that's a little strange. Also, a little strange with this game, I don't know if the disc is broken or if it's the way it's intended, but when you pop it in, it doesn't run the game. It takes you to your arcade, and then all 3 games are just there. So I know for certain I didn't buy Heavy Weapon, and I've never had Peggle on my thing, but I did buy Feeding Frenzy 2, so I was a little confused. Heavy Weapon apparently has 4-player co-op if you can play it online. I don't know if you can do any couch co-op, but it was a solid, almost not Missile Command-esque game, but a little bit like that. Single screen, you're firing upwards. There's different levels. It's entertaining enough. You get power-ups a la Contra. Pretty tough, though. Only made it to stage 4. And then Feeding Frenzy 2. As someone who loved the original Feeding Frenzy, the first several stages just felt like I was playing more Feeding Frenzy. But then as the game started going on, you then get this level where you can jump out of the water, and they started introducing somewhat new fish, as well as a couple of extra mechanics. But really, it just felt like more Feeding Frenzy. And I think the big hook with that one is that there's co-op. I'm not sure if the first one had co-op. But anyways, solid collection, and this thing is deceptively expensive. So I got lucky and I found a copy on Amazon for like $20, but if you go and look for it, it is $100 everywhere. So that one might be one that is already sailed as far as being affordable, but keep an eye out for it. If you can find that, and don't be discouraged, I think, if it doesn't open up, because I think it just which means does it just download the games from the disc or from the cloud? I don't know. But still, something, even if it is just a paperweight, it's nice to have in my collection. I like it. It is complete and was a nice pickup. Okay, so here's one that goes back to when I was going to Savers, the thrift store, 2, 3, 4 times a week because I worked right next to it. And this was one of the first times I found a Xbox 360 game there that I hadn't heard of, and that actually was worth like $7, $8 complete when I looked it up on price charting, because back then every Xbox 360 game was like $2, $3. I mean, I remember I saw Blur back then several times and I never picked it up like an idiot. But one that I did pick up was a game called 99 Nights. Now, there actually is a sequel to this game that's even more expensive, but we're just going to talk about this one. So I found this game for about $3, and it's very much in the vein of Dynasty Warriors or Kessen, things like that, where you have hundreds of enemies on the screen, and you're just going around and laying waste to them. That's honestly all I know about it. I have not popped it in and played it, but from what I've seen, it really just looks like a Dynasty Warriors clone, and, you know, it has its own storyline. It had a sequel, so people must enjoy it. It's kind of got a little bit of a cult following. You know, it's one of those ones where you don't hear that much about it, but people who played it really like it. And unlike the sequel, you can still find the first one fairly affordable. I mean, at least until this video comes out, and then they all go away. But that's one, definitely, if you see it, snatch it up. It is dumb fun, from what I've heard. Once again, I don't know, but it looks like dumb fun. Okay, now here's one that ironically I picked up back in, I want to say 2016. Now, longtime viewers of the channel will know I did a series called Noob Gamer with my, at the time, girlfriend, now my wife, where I would basically put my wife through iconic moments in gaming, and, you know, things like go and defeat the dam level in Turtles, or get through the hallway scene in Resident Evil where the dog jumps out. Just things like that to see how she would react as someone who's not a quote-unquote gamer, but still was, you know, tangentially in games, played N64 all the time with her cousins, knew about gaming, played Game Boy, but just not a huge gamer. Well, one of the games I picked up that I wanted to show her was, I am not the most familiar with the Doom series, but I know enough about gaming to know that Doom, the original Doom, is huge. So I wanted a way for her to play it. I know the regular experience is on PC and all the different ports, so I wanted to find something that would be kind of accessible. So I went and found that it was ported to the Xbox 360 as part of the Doom 3 BFG edition. I want to say I got this for $8 or $9. Now, this version has Doom 3, I think a lot of the DLC, and then the original Doom 1 and 2 all on the disc. So that just seemed like, and also just for myself, that seemed like something like, oh yeah, I'd like to go through Doom 1 and 2 someday. Now since then, they have done the Doom collection on the Switch. I'm sure it's been physical elsewhere, but when I bought this, this was really at the time, what seemed like the best way to do it. Now, I don't know much about Doom 3 other than it's very divisive amongst the Doom fan base. I mean, I love Doom 2016, and it's just one of those things where that's why I picked it up. I have a feeling this one is going to go up, though, just because of the amount of stuff on the disc. All these weird editions always tend to go up like that. And if you want a way to play all the Dooms on one place, that's one to really check out, in my opinion. All right, speaking of the Doom mechanics, a game that I have not played yet, but I've looked into it, and it is just finally getting a sequel that's supposedly coming out this year, and that is Warhammer 20k Space Marine. So this is an interesting game that has a hybrid melee and shooting combat. I guess kind of like Never Dead, but a little bit less, probably a little bit less finicky. Also, from what I've seen in videos, this has a little of that Doom 2016 mantra where you can get health back by doing executions on enemies. So it's funny, I thought Doom 16 was the first one to use that, but then seeing it, it's like, oh, this game does that too. This game must be pretty damn fun. It's still pretty affordable. I got it for $20. I've seen it talked to death. I know I saw Metal Jesus cover it years ago. Seen it on other various channels too. With the sequel coming out, this might be one to keep an eye out for too. And one that I definitely wanted to get snatch up and put in my collection. All right, here's another one that I played this week. So I played some great games this week, guys. This was the first one I picked up, and I wanted to beat this one too. It's much more deliberate. I'd say it's kind of on the opposite end of the spectrum of Asura's Wrath, whereas that one is all, sizzle. This one is much more deliberate, and that game is Alpha Protocol. Now, on the surface, looks like some generic Mission Impossible wannabe, but if you notice, it's made by Obsidian. Now, Obsidian is the developer behind a lot of great games, one of which back at this time frame was Fallout New Vegas. Now, this was the first game they ever did that was just themselves, and they haven't done anything else with the franchise since then. But you can very much tell that it has that BioWare, that chat tree type DNA in it. It's kind of a stealth action game, but not so much in the stealth, because you can kind of go through the levels however you want, as well as you have relationships you're building with different characters. You can have professional response, suave response, aggressive response. Like, you have different responses you can give, so you can kind of shape your way through this game. And there's an email system where you can get it. There's a dossier. So there's a lot of reading you can do. That's why I say it's deliberate. It's not over the top. This is a thinking man's game where it's not all flash all the time. But if you're looking for a lower key experience, which has some fun elements in it too, the gameplay and all that is still pretty solid. I unlocked this ability to do an instant headshot with my pistol, which is pretty cool. And just all in all, very interesting. It's kind of like taking place in one of those movies like True Lies, where you're playing as this secret government organization no one has heard of. And what's also funny is that there are times where you can respond to the emails, and it'll give you the option of how to respond. So it'd be like professional, suave, or aggressive. And just, my goodness, you can see why some of these games get a bad reputation, because the professional response to say your female colleague is, "Thank you very much, glad to be on the team." That's professional. The aggressive is, "I don't need no help." And then the suave response is, "Hey, why don't you and I go have sex in the closet at the office party and get drunk?" "Just kidding. We won't be drunk." I don't know how suave that sounds, but I'm sure 21-year-old, 22-year-old me would have thought, "Wow, that has to work." So maybe that's the culprit of these stupid games. All right, speaking of stupid games, this is been labeled one of the worst games ever made. I don't know if that's actually true. I haven't played this one. I picked it up a long time ago, either from when I was doing the savers as well, or I might even bought this at a GameStop just because I heard it had such a horrible reputation, and I do love the series, and that is Bomberman Zero, or Act Zero. Bomberman Act Zero. And imagine taking Bomberman, which is a cutesy anime, blow up the guys with little cartoony bombs, and you make it hyper realistic, super dark, super like just very, very edgy and dark, and not at all like what the original game was like. And I feel like that's what led to people giving it horrible reviews. It's because it's more or less just a reskin of Bomberman, but given this almost cyberpunk Shadowrun visual set that just did not align. And, you know, I gotta try it to really give a full opinion on it. But as far as having it in a collection, oh yeah, and back in Alpha Protocol, dirt cheap. That game, I got for $7-8. Pick that one up now. Bomberman Zero is still a pretty uncommon game. I see it going for $40 new, but you can still find it fairly cheap, $15-20. I mean, is the game worth that? Probably not. But for the laughs alone, that's just one I had to pick up. All right, now here's one that is another one of physical games that I did not know existed. And what's funny is this is actually a combination pack with another game that I don't care about. But that is the Xbox Live Arcade Compilation Pack. And there's like 3 of these. So I've talked about 2 others. So the Xbox Unplugged, the one that had Geometry Wars, the Arcade Pack Volume 2 that had Geometry Wars 2. And this is the first one, I guess. And this one has Feeding Frenzy, a game I like. I just talked about the sequel. Feeding Frenzy is just a game, you know, think of the beginning of Evo. You go around eating stuff until your fish gets big enough. You can then eat bigger stuff until it gets big enough. You can eat the biggest stuff, and then that's it. Yeah, it's a very simple arcade game, but a lot of dumb fun. When I got my Xbox 360, the game was already downloaded on it, so it was just one of those things where, hey, and then my college girlfriend and I really enjoyed it, so that was cool. This also has Pac-Man Tournament Edition, which I've heard is a very fun game. Uno, and then a couple other games I haven't played, and I'm not going to say aren't that great, because I said that about one of the games on the Unplugged collection, or on the, Luma, I think, which I apologize to the Luma fans. I will try it and see the error of my ways. I'm just not I think it was a match 3 game, so it just didn't really appeal to me, but I'm sure I'm dead wrong on that. But yes, this one is dirt cheap. Find it anywhere, and this also comes with Sonic Tennis, Sega Superstar Tennis. So yeah, you can find it like this. You can find it by itself. It's a little hard to track these down because you put in one and you see the others, and the others are, especially Volume 2, is stupid expensive. But that also means that Volume 2 can sometimes get mislabeled or mispriced based on the others. So always be on the lookout for it. But I think I found that game for like $5 or $6, so very affordable. Okay, now here's a fun one, just because I had this in my price charting collection, but it was a loose disc, and I almost convinced myself that I had to have made a mistake. So I bought a collection off of one of my work colleagues back in, I want to say 2018, for $300. I bought all his Xbox 360 games and his GameCube games and all this, or maybe he just gave it to me. I can't remember. Like, he gave me a bin of games just because he knows I like games, and it was really nice of him. One of the games in there, or at least somehow I got this game, I'm assuming it's from him, it may have been somewhere else, but one of the games in there was Spider-Man Friend or Foe. So in my price chart collecting, it showed I had this game, and I assumed I made a mistake because when I went and I was double checking all my games, I had not put in Spider-Man 2 for the PS2. So then when I saw Spider-Man on Xbox, I'm like, oh, I made a dumb mistake. But I never quite believed it. And forever, I just could not find this disc. And so finally, the other day, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to find this damn disc. So I opened up every single one of my Xbox 360 games before now, so ones I had about 3 years ago. And I found it. It was in my copy of Liberty City, of GTA 4. Which is ironic because my buddy who gave me these games, I always said looked like Nico Bellic from that game. Is that why I did it that way? I don't know. But anyways, Spider-Man Friend or Foe. This is one of all of the Spider-Man games on the Xbox 360 have kind of gone through the roof. I don't even have this one complete. I just have the disc. Even that, the disc is worth about $30. But all of those games, pick them up now because once it's just... They're just going to keep going up. The licensing, apparently Activision made the games and then they lost the Marvel license, which means they're never getting re-released. Now, I wouldn't say never. There's a chance that some deal could be struck, as unlikely as it sounds. It could happen. I mean, I would have assumed that you would never have seen a Final Fantasy game on Nintendo consoles again. And then, lo and behold, they're everywhere again. But yeah, this is one that's fun because it's co-op. It reminds me a little of the Marvel Ultimate Alliance games, but not quite as dungeon crawly. This one's more of a top-down action adventure beat 'em up type thing, and you play as Spider-Man, or you have a co-op partner play as a villain or a hero. Other than that, I don't know that much. I have not put that much time into the game, other than the fact that I just wanted to talk about it and tell that crazy story about having a game in my collection that I could not find and thought I made a mistake. And that's one that, hey, I was glad to have, because at the time it was like a couple bucks, and now it's worth 30. So that's cool. All right, getting down to the last couple here. This is one that got re-released on the Switch and modern consoles, but still, as I like to have it, everything on their original consoles when they came out. And I think this one it might have only been on the Xbox when it came out, but then they released a definitive edition on the PS3. And even then, the newer releases are likely based on the definitive. So if you want kind of the original base experience, that game is Tales of Vesperia. And no, I didn't spend $35. I don't know why I didn't take the sticker off this one. I think I got this for like $7. And as you know, RPGs always go up. This is, I think it's the 10th game in the Tales series. Originally started with Tales of Fantasia, and I always confuse, is it Wolf Team or Tri-Ace? I think it's Wolf Team. I don't know, one or the other. Those in Star Ocean, I always confuse it. But yeah, this one is 3D based combat, but it still has that Tales style in it. Honestly, I know nothing of the game. I just know that it's a RPG on the Xbox, and kind of is the only way to play this version of it. Pick it up, it's cheap enough. I got it for $7. All right, and then the last one. This one is kind of a, one that's close to my heart, because I really enjoy the base game of this. And this was a DLC that got a physical release that I actually haven't played. I haven't even opened it yet, but still, I like to have these physical, and that game is XCOM Enemy Within. So much like XCOM 2 had War of the Chosen come out, where it expanded and debatably improved on the base game, XCOM Enemy Within did the same thing. Now, me and XCOM Enemy Unknown, it's one of my all-time favorite games of all time. I knew I wanted to pick this up. I just never have put any time aside to play it. But it's still very affordable, and once that store goes down, I know there's other ways of getting it, but this is just a nice way to ensure you have the ability to play Enemy Within on your console. If I remember, they added robot characters and a couple other things. I think you can get the side characters much earlier on, and just wonderful series. If you haven't played XCOM, that right there is one of the best and most frustrating things you can ever get involved with, but man, is it rewarding. And it's really fun because you can name the characters, make them, after friends or enemies, or people who become friends because they were your enemy and they became very good on your team. Like, I have such great gaming moments and stories from playing XCOM, and just, this is one that I've been wanting to check out, and one of these days I will play it, and I highly recommend picking it up. I think I bought it brand new years ago, but I still see them. That and Enemy Unknown, either one of them's fine to pick up. But yes, there you go. There is another 12 games that you should pick up before the prices go up even higher. I know some of these the boat's already gone out on. Some of these haven't, though. Some of these haven't. You can find some deals on stuff. Check your local stores, because all the pricing is all over the place. There has to be some market manipulation going on here. There's no way there's not, especially on stuff like Fatal Inertia and Cold Step Saga. But some of these other games, it's kind of hard to do that on. Like Remember Me, pick that one up. Alpha Protocol, pick that one up. If you can find a deal on Asura's Wrath, do it. Or at least buy the DLC while you can, because there is allegedly so I beat the game, I beat all 3 chapters. There's a 4th chapter, though, that came out that supposedly has a better ending. So I downloaded that. Remember the hold off for the sales. I don't know if that's going to affect DLC, but the sales will be happening on the Xbox Store, I think June 16th, and then sometime in late July. But anyways, thank you guys so much. Thank you for coming here, loving these videos, commenting. Like, this has really just been such a blast. I know someone mentioned that they wanted to see me do a PS3 version of this, which I am compiling some PS3 games, some of which are tangentially involved. So if it's on the PS3, the Xbox 360 version is one you should get, and vice versa. There are some games that I have bought on the PS3 that I want on the Xbox 360. It just actually is more expensive now on the Xbox, or I already had it on the PS3 beforehand. So we will get that one going once I slow down, but man, I got more games, guys. We got more games to talk about. I just need to actually have some time to sit down and try them out, so I'm not just looking like an idiot like I am on some of these ones. So yes, as a reminder, I release a new video every Tuesday. It's been so nice getting a hold of you guys. Take care.